The technology we rely on today is honestly insane. For instance, a lot of you are watching this on a small device that fits in your hand and stays connected to the internet non-stop. Well, not too long ago, even 20 years back, that would have been totally unthinkable. But guess what? Our ancient ancestors were just as fascinated by the tech they had back then, it just looked completely different. So, let's look at some of the most brain-blowing tech built by our ancestors. Number 15. Bronze Age horned helmets. These two elaborate helmets were found on the Danish island of Zealand in 1942. They dated back to the Bronze Age and were covered in symbolism far beyond simple protection. With sweeping bull-like horns, decorative bird-of-prey motifs, and traces of feathers and horsehair, these helmets carried deeply mysterious meanings. What that meaning was, well, no one's sure. But what shook researchers wasn't just the helmets, it was their possible origin. Their design shows influence from Sardinian culture, something that suggests contact between Northern Europe and the Mediterranean roughly 3,000 years ago. That kind of connection was previously thought impossible due to the Alps, the seas, and the sheer distance between the regions. If true, these helmets rewrite that assumption entirely. And despite being found in what's now Viking territory, they're not Viking at all. In fact, they predate Norse culture by centuries. While Hollywood and Netflix love to dress Vikings in horned helmets, these artifacts prove the style came from an entirely different place, for reasons we still haven't fully pieced together. Number 14. Steam-powered Pigeon of Archas. In Tarentum, southern Italy, over 2,300 years ago, the philosopher and inventor Archas created something that still sounds futuristic and mind-blowing, a steam-powered wooden pigeon. Well, it wasn't decorative, it was designed to fly, and it did just that. The pigeon worked on simple pressure physics. Steam built up inside a sealed internal bladder, and once the pressure was strong enough, it shot out of the back, propelling the bird forward. The average flight reportedly covered over 3,800 feet. While Archas wasn't aiming to conquer the skies, his goal was clear. He wanted to understand how birds flew by recreating the mechanics. That makes this device not only one of the earliest recorded robotic constructs, but also the earliest example of powered flight. It's often overlooked in favor of more flashy ancient tech, but its design speaks volumes about the thinking of the time. For Archas, observation and replication were tools of science. His wooden pigeon wasn't a gimmick, it was research in motion. Number 13. Sky Blue Ring of Caligula. Finding Roman jewelry is always exciting, but this sapphire ring is in another league. Carved from a single piece of vivid blue sapphire, it's believed to be over 2,000 years old and possibly owned by none other than Emperor Caligula himself. The bezel features an engraved portrait of a woman, likely his fourth wife, Caesonia. Caligula was famously obsessed with her. He even marched her naked in front of soldiers just to show her off. Well, no one knows exactly where or when the ring was unearthed, but it made headlines after being showcased at a Roman jewelry exhibition in London back in 2019. Even without the imperial connection, the craftsmanship alone would make it priceless. But because of its imperial ties, experts say it could easily fetch over $750,000, or maybe even more if it ever hit the auction block. Rings made from a single piece like this are called horth, and this might be the finest surviving example in existence. Number 2. Dishi. Fish scale armor in China. In January 2022, archaeologists uncovered a bizarre type of ancient armor in Turfan, near China's Taklamakan Desert. It's 2,500 years old and looks like it's made from fish scales, but don't let the name fool you. The armor is actually crafted from over 5,000 overlapping leather pieces, meticulously shaped and arranged to mimic the pattern of scales. The suit wasn't local either. Research suggests it came from the Middle East, showing a surprising level of cross-cultural tech sharing during that period. Unlike chainmail, this armor prioritized protection from blunt force trauma. It was cheaper to make too, but came with trade-offs, limited flexibility and awkward movement. It's believed to have been used by elite warriors or military officials. The craftsmanship shows not only skill but also an understanding of battlefield needs. In a region where survival depended on innovation, this armor was a smart blend of defense and resourcefulness, revealing more about ancient military networks than most history books ever will. Number 11. The Claw of Archimedes. When the Romans attacked the city of Syracuse during the Second Punic War, they came prepared for a standard naval siege. What they didn't expect was a secret weapon designed by Archimedes himself, a mechanical device strong enough to lift enemy ships from the water. Dubbed the Claw of Archimedes, it functioned like a massive grappling crane. The claw would latch onto a ship, tilt it, and either capsize it or slam it back down with destructive force. Contemporary accounts claim multiple devices were built and used successfully in defense of the city. For centuries, scholars debated whether such a machine could have worked. Then, in 1999, the BBC recreated the concept for Secrets of the Ancients. Their build worked. The Discovery Channel repeated the test in 2005 with similar results. Archimedes didn't just draw war machines, he engineered them. The claw wasn't a myth or a metaphor. It was 100% real. It was pretty practical, and it reshaped how naval warfare was understood during its time. Number 10. The Vadra. In Indian mythology, the Vadra isn't just a symbol, it's a weapon said to hold the force of lightning and the strength of a diamond. Across Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism, it's seen as a tool of divine power. Its name comes from Sanskrit, where it carries two meanings, thunderbolt and diamond. The duality says it all, unbreakable and unstoppable. According to ancient texts, it was crafted from the bones of the sage Dishi by Vishwakarma, the celestial artisan, after Vishnu advised Indra on how to defeat the demon Vritra. That origin story made the Vadra a central piece in spiritual iconography. It's typically shaped like a heavy club with rigid ends and symbolizes the triumph of clarity over ignorance, light over darkness. Despite its mystical reputation, many temples hold it as a literal object, usually made of bronze or gold. For millions, it's more than a legend. It's a reminder that strength can be both physical and spiritual, and when combined, it's unbeatable. So, what's your take on? Was this thing real or just a myth? Number 9. Clothing tools in Morocco's Contrabandier's Cave. Contrabandier's Cave in Morocco has changed the timeline on early clothing. Archaeologists digging here found bones from small carnivores, skinned and stripped to make fur. These remains date back 120,000 years, and they weren't just leftovers from meals. The bones had tool marks that showed humans were using them to process pelts. That's the earliest physical evidence we've got of Homo sapiens turning animal hides into clothing. What's wild is that this pushes back the origins of clothing way earlier than expected. Most theories said humans started dressing up in cold places, but this was in North Africa, not exactly sweater weather. None of the original garments survived. Of course, fabric and fur decayed, but the tools and bone marks tell the story. Some scientists even think early leather was being made from wild cattle. Homo sapiens evolved about 300,000 years ago, so apparently they ran around naked for almost 180,000 years before figuring out how to make a jacket. Thank God they found it. Number 8. Inca Hydraulic Temple. High in the Andes, sitting at 9,000 feet above sea level, this thing is one of the most advanced water temples ever created without modern machinery or AI. Inca Misana, located in the Antofagasta region of Peru, is an engineering marvel that feels out of place in the 13th century. It wasn't just built for function, it was a spiritual tribute to water itself. With fountains, canals, basins, and carved stone channels stretching miles through solid terrain, the system still works today. The Incas used natural gradients, precise angles, and some form of unknown water-resistant coating to keep it all flowing without leaks. Even erosion and landslides were accounted for, Drainage systems were cut directly into the mountain. The planning involved wasn't guesswork. It was calculated, intentional, and deeply tied to their understanding of nature. For a civilization without metal tools or powered machines, the level of control over hydraulics here is surreal. This wasn't trial and error, it was brilliance, executed with reverence and purpose. Number 7. Chromium steel in ancient Persia. When people talk about stainless steel, they often credit the 20th century. But long before that, about 1,000 years ago, Persian metalworkers had already figured it out. In 2020, researchers confirmed that ancient forges in Chahak, Iran, were producing chromium steel as far back as the 11th century. The proof came from detailed studies of crucible slag found at the site, as well as references in a Persian manuscript known as Al-Jamahir fi Marifat al-Jawahir, written by the scholar al-Biruni. The technique they used involved combining iron with chromium-rich materials at high heat, producing steel that resisted rust and corrosion, exactly what modern stainless steel does. What's strange is that this technique seems isolated to that specific region. No other civilization was doing the same thing at the time, and the process was somehow lost for centuries. While we tend to associate rust-proof alloys with modern innovation, this discovery flips that narrative. Ancient metallurgy had moments of brilliance that matched and even beat contemporary science. Number 6. Borro Temple. Well, just look at this place. It's just amazing. Borobudur isn't just large, it's a statement. Rising from the jungles of Magelang, Indonesia, this 8th century Buddhist monument is built from over 1.6 million stone blocks, most of them volcanic rock. It's hard to imagine how monks, working without modern tools or heavy machinery, stacked and shaped all that stone into a three-dimensional mandala. The entire site is covered in intricate carvings, over 500 Buddha statues, and nearly 3,000 bas-reliefs line the paths that spiral upward toward the top. Each step upward was meant to guide worshippers from the physical world to enlightenment. What adds to the enigma is its resilience. Despite being surrounded by active volcanoes and enduring centuries of earthquakes, the structure stood untouched for nearly 500 years after it was mysteriously abandoned in the 14th century. There are no records explaining why, and somehow it survived long enough to be rediscovered. No structural reinforcements, no modern supports, just brilliant ancient architecture holding itself together through chaos and silence. Number 5. The Oaklo Natural Nuclear Reactor. In the African country of Gabon lies Oaklo, a site unlike anywhere else on Earth. Roughly 2 billion years ago, the uranium-rich rock in this area underwent a chain reaction, not caused by humans, but by nature itself. Groundwater seeped into the uranium deposits, triggering fission. The heat produced by the reaction evaporated the water, which paused the process until more water flooded in and restarted it. This natural cycle kept repeating, essentially creating a self-regulating nuclear reactor long before humans even existed. The key evidence came in the 1970s when scientists noticed lower than expected levels of uranium-235 in the rock. At first they feared illegal enrichment or weapons activity, until deeper investigation revealed that this was an ancient, entirely natural process. Xenon gas trapped in surrounding minerals confirmed that the ongoing reactions had actually occurred. Oaklo remains the only known location where this phenomenon happened on its own. It's a powerful reminder that the planet's chemistry doesn't wait for our permission to make history. What do you think about it? Is it naturally made? Number 4. Astrolabe. This thing didn't just track stars. It tracked time, direction, and movement with such precision that it became one of the most admired tools of its era. By the 13th century, owning an astrolabe was a sign of knowledge and prestige, especially across the Islamic world. Though earlier models existed as far back as Theon of Alexandria in the 4th century BCE, it was the Muslim scholars of the 10th century who perfected the design. These devices weren't one-trick gadgets. They featured rotating parts, engraved charts, and dials calibrated for location-specific calculations. From determining the Qibla for prayer to tracking celestial bodies, their uses were wide-ranging. Some even engraved step-by-step instructions directly onto the back, making them user-friendly long before that was a standard design concern. Small enough to carry, yet complex enough to calculate planetary positions, the Astrolabe stands as one of the most functionally elegant inventions of its time. It was science, navigation, and devotion distilled into brass and geometry. Number 3. Persia sitzes, ancient refrigerators. Centuries before electricity became standard, the Persians found a way to keep perishables cold, and they did it with pure architectural brilliance. Known as yakshals, these ancient refrigerators weren't pits, but dome-shaped towers built up to 60 feet tall. Engineers channeled spring water into these structures, using a combination of wind towers and evaporative cooling to bring down the temperature inside. The materials used in their construction, sand, clay, egg whites, and even goat hair, formed an insulating shell that reflected sunlight and sealed in the cold. It's not the sleek kind of cooling tech we think of today, but it was incredibly efficient for its time. Yakshals stored ice, preserved food, and even allowed for cold desserts in desert heat. The methods behind them were so advanced that they're still studied by modern engineers. These weren't just storage units, they were precision-built environmental machines, functioning in a climate that should have made cooling impossible. A lesson in sustainability long before the term ever existed. What do you think about it? Well, drop your comment below. Number 2. Scottish Tawi balls. Across Scotland, dozens of carved stone balls have been unearthed, some as old as 5,000 years. These small, hand-sized spheres aren't perfectly round. Instead, they're sculpted with raised nodules and intricate engravings, swirls, rings, and interconnected patterns that seem anything but random. The most famous examples come from Aberdeenshire, but new ones were still being found as recently as 2013. Despite their number and detailed craftsmanship, no one really knows their purpose. Some think they were weapons, others believe they were ceremonial or symbolic objects. A more modern theory suggests they may have functioned as artisan portfolios, carried by stonemasons to showcase their carving skills to potential clients. The carvings on these spheres resemble the styles seen in Pictish art, but the stones themselves predate the Picts by centuries. Whatever their function, the balls are anything but primitive. The work is deliberate, the designs consistent, and their survival across millennia speaks to their cultural weight. Yet we still don't know who really made them, or why. Number 1. China SIP's first magnetic compass. Long before it guided ships across oceans, the compass had a different role entirely. Ancient Chinese builders used it more like a tool for spiritual alignment, placing doors and windows based on its direction rather than for navigation. Crafted from lodestone, a naturally magnetic rock, these early compasses were shaped like spoons and balanced on polished bronze plates. Without knowing the Earth's magnetic properties in scientific terms, the ancient Chinese noticed that the spoon always turned toward the north. Some early texts also mention an iron fish that would consistently point south when placed in water, but none have survived. The first known compasses were built nearly 2,400 years ago, not to find lands but to map out energy, harmony, and ideal architectural flow. Only much later did the world catch on that this device had serious directional power. It's a rare case of spiritual curiosity leading to a tool that would later drive exploration and reshape global trade, all thanks to a magnetized rock and sharp observation. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.